Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best 10 brawlers in the game right now. So there's some balance changes a couple of days ago. Things have shifted a lot, so this is my first look at what the meta looks like, and in particular the best 10 brawlers. So to begin with, at number 10 we have Bo. So I know in my stream I was a little bit harsh with him. I was saying after the nerfs he probably would be a mid brawler in the meta, like B tier. I'd say for now he's still a top 10 brawler just because of his play rate. It's still through the roof. So if you're unaware what happened, back on the 12th of December, it was buffed twice. His damage was buffed an extra 200 damage per ammo, which was insane. 1,400 per arrow was just ridiculous. I could tell straight away that Bo was a top brawler in the game, and he quite quickly became a top 3 brawler in the game, hence why he got some emergency nerfs. He also got a buff to his supercharge rate. It went from 8 hits to 9 hits. So basically the nerfs have been well, the buffs have actually just gone back. They've been reverted, except for the damage. So damage is actually a tiny bit more than before, about 80 extra damage from what it used to be back in December before the buff. So after all the nerfs and buffs, he's still a little bit more extra damage, so that can really help him out, particularly I would say on game modes where you're kind of struggling for a brawler. But you can always go Bo because he's pretty decent against everything. But I have got the feeling that he is going to go down the rankings as people just realize that he's not as strong as he used to be. So now jumping into the 9th best brawler in the game right now, I went with Edgar. So of course Edgar, it still takes the right matchup to absolutely pop off. But the thing about Edgar, if you can get just a couple of good matchups, even one throughout of the 3 brawlers that you face off against in 3v3, you're just gonna go ham. The hypercharge is still insane on its own, and it can lead to squad wipes. And even if you have a bad matchup, a lot of the times you just need to make sure you're wasting their gadgets, and once their gadgets are down, you know, for example like Sandy, Maisie, then you can just absolutely destroy those brawlers. Particularly as the game goes on, you'll eventually get your hypercharge. So the reason I love Edgar as well is because you can still pretty much play him anywhere as our last pick. Literally in every single setting, I always think of brawlers like Fang, Edgar, because the carry potential is just absolutely insane. So again, Edgar did get nerfed very heavily, just like Fang about a month ago now, emergency nerfs, but I still feel like Edgar is a top brawler in the game. So now jumping into the 8th best brawler in the game right now, I went with Spike. So before we talk about all things Spike, we'll go through the honorable mentions. So the first one is going to be Kit. So I wanted to just address this quite quickly because Kit, I don't know, it's a little bit of a weird one because I feel like it definitely has some potential, but I think 2 of the nerfs really did hit Kit hard, and I think it will push Kit right down in the rankings. In my opinion, it's still going to be a good ladder brawler, but pretty hard to pull off in a competitive setting. So the first one is that the fact you don't get your super when you detach from your teammates. So that was the thing I was confused about the other day, but I didn't realize, I think that was a bug. So now once you're detached from a teammate, you're just a sitting duck, and it's really easy to confirm the kill on Kit, which I do like. And another thing as well, when you use your super onto someone, you now take damage, so you can't just blindly jump into people and not receive damage. Now you have to pick your gunfights well. So I still feel like Kit is a useful brawler, but I don't think top 10. Maybe I'm wrong. My first instincts was that he was a top 10 brawler, but I think a lot of people have just figured Kit out. And then next we have Amber. So Amber, since the damage buff is insane, I don't honestly put Amber in the top 10, but I don't think people really agree with that just yet. But seriously, Amber is an insane versatile pick. Colette, Piper and Rosa as well. So with Spike then, Spike is just insanely versatile, always been pretty strong. He's got a hypercharge. Even with his nerf to the mythic gear as well back a month ago, that mythic gear is still really insane. And it's just a fact, again, you can pretty much pick a Spike anywhere outside of bounty and knockout. He's always going to be pretty good, and as long as there's some tanks in the meta, he's going to feed his hypercharge even more. So you guys know the deal with Spike. He's still insane. Alright guys, so now jumping into the 7th best brawler in the game right now, I went with Pearl. So again, it's another hot take, but I put Pearl in my top 10 ranking in my tier list a couple of weeks ago, and I still stick by it. Pearl is such an insane brawler. I'm just ahead of the curve. Trust me, she's so strong. You've just got to make sure you're ramping up. You can't just blindly go Pearl on every single Brawl map, because there are going to be a bunch of tanks that are going to force you to use your heat. But it's just still so many maps in the game and modes where you can easily build up your heat. And of course, the best thing about it as well is that you can pair the heat with the gadget and just melt through people so quickly. And for me, Pearl is very versatile. She's like one of the best options in Knockout right now because it's just so easy to build your heat up to max, and then you have the shield on top of that as well. She's so hard to take down. If you guys are wondering where it's kind of came from as well, she got a movement speed buff about a month ago. She was always pretty good, but she was just boring to play because she was slow and just really slow to build up the heat. But once people get the grips of Pearl, she's an insane brawler. Trust me, I'm seeing her literally everywhere, and people are still underrating her. The amount of damage she can deal is just ridiculous. It's just because she's pretty boring to play, right? I don't really enjoy playing Pearl too much, but at the same time, it's very satisfying when you melt for a brawler. Trust me, Pearl is insane. You need to keep trying her. Next up, as the 6th best brawler in the game right now, I still went with Cordelius. So if I was to do this ranking, I'd still put Cordelius in the top 3, but I think it's pretty clear that I have a little bit of a bias towards him just because of how annoying he is. I always ban him in my Power League games, but he's still super strong. So if you're unaware why he's still super strong, his super counters hypercharge so well. He's just got a good matchup against pretty much everything, and there's certain brawlers in the game as well, you know, brawlers like Fang that Cordelius completely shuts down, so he's good for that reason. He's also good because in the Shadow Realm you're pretty much going to beat every single brawler. You pair that with his jumper gadget, I think it's called Replanting, and also the Mushroom Kingdom with star power with the healing on top of that. It's just really hard to take down Cordelius in that Shadow Realm, and he can just be a nuisance. He can just fly around the map at any point of time. So for me, Cordelius will always be a meta brawler and definitely at the top of this one. Alright guys, jumping into the 5th best brawler in the game right now, I went with Miko. So again, another controversial one because people still don't understand the power of Miko. And me myself, I'm a terrible Miko because you've got to have the patience, and is his high skill cap brawler. He's a really slow reload speed, so you've got to make sure you're wasting none of that ammo. But I know people have been saying he's insane in Showdown, which he still probably is even since the bug fixes. He's just insane in 3v3 because his monkey business star power is so good in every single 1v1 interaction. The way you got to play Miko though, you got to make sure that you're building up that first super to begin with, because that's how you start the chaining. You can start so much pressure. One super can force one particular brawler all the way back into spawn, and you know, in particular game modes like gem grab, you can just keep supering it on top of the opponent and keep killing the gem carrier with ease because he's such a fantastic 1v1 brawler. It's just all about creating that chaos. So just like Mortis, getting in behind the opponents, creating so much pressure for your teammates as well. It's just so good. And of course, his literal main attack, you're able to dodge shots, so he's just insane. His gadgets are really good as well. You can use Presto to catch the opponents by surprise, but Clip and Scream's also good for that extra DPS and the slow. There's just a lot of good things about Miko in my opinion, and I think when it comes down to competitive play, the pros are really valuing Miko. They're banning him a lot in scrims, so for me, I think he's a top tier brawler. You've just kind of got to learn the skill cap behind him. Alright guys, so now jumping into the 4th best brawler in the game right now, I still went with Charlie. So Charlie is back near the top of the meta again. I think people were pretty harsh with her because she received a lot of nerfs, right? You'd think 4 nerfs in one balance change would pretty much kill the brawler, but I think she's still such a fantastic option. So Spider's gadget got nerfed heavily, but it's still such a fantastic gadget. It wastes so much ammo, and if you have the extra gadget gear on top of that, you can just keep spamming down your lane and getting in such a good position. And even though it takes 6 hits to get your super, you can still cycle it so fast. And of course, that super is probably the best inside of the game. Let's be real, just shutting down your opponent in a cocoon, it makes it a free kill pretty much every single time. It's so easy to hit as well. She has fantastic range. She's such a good shutdown brawler to a lot of the meta brawlers. You think any brawler pops their hypercharge, you could just put them in a cocoon. It's absolutely broken. Again, a top tier brawler like Fang, she completely shuts down, and for me, she just has to be a top tier brawler. You can pretty much use her anywhere. Gem grab, brawl ball, hot zone, she's fantastic, and you can either use it on some of the knockout maps right now. There's a few dodgy ones where you can definitely use her, but yeah, for me, she's just still broken. That super is just so strong. And again, people are going to realize just how good she is, especially counting some of these meta brawlers. Okay, so now jumping into the 3rd best brawler in the game right now, I went with Leon. So again, there might be a little bit of bias here, but I'm still just seeing so much Leon in Power League. It's ridiculous. This brawler is so versatile. I'm watching scrims as well, and Leon is popping off every single time. He's such a strong brawler. Again, I was early on this train. I told you guys that Leon was going to be so strong, and he is. And the only thing that's really changed, I would say, is just because of his hypercharge. The fact that Leon can cycle through supers pretty fast, you can quickly get a hypercharge and change the game. The hypercharge itself is pretty strong, but I think it's more of a stat boost that make him so strong. The extra speed, for extra damage, add that onto invisibility. It just makes for him to be so strong. He can get some multiple team wipes, and as I said, the versatility is insane with this brawler. It's a big reason as to why I make these rankings. It's because if they're strong in every single game mode, how can you compete against some of the other meta brawlers? You know, you think of Leon in Hot Zone, really good at placing gadgets and getting a lot of time in terms of maps like Ring of Fire and Open Zone. You've also got him in Bounty and Knockout, where he's always really strong against the meta brawlers like Piper, Brock, Snipers. He's going to counter so ridiculously well. Gem Grabby's always been insane, given the gadget to begin with to the mid, and then he can just pressure the lane so easily. I think his weakest game mode is probably Brawl, but still he's good on those passive maps like Backyard Ball, where they can easily place his gadget and get a lot of pressure. So for me, Leon is just absolutely insane. Also, I forgot to mention the Mythic gear got buffed an extra second. Might not seem like a lot, but it pairs so well with his Hypercharge. For me, he has to be one of the best brawlers in the game without any bias. So now jumping into the second best brawler in the game right now, I went with Fang. So no, the Hypercharge nerf did seem pretty big. I thought it'd impact him a lot, but it's still just so many great things about Fang. He's so annoying to face. I feel like as the weeks go on, he gets stronger and stronger. Probably next week, he'll feel like the best brawler in the game. So in particular, the reason why Fang is so strong, because anyone can play him. He's pretty brain dead in my opinion, just because his super automatically goes to the next target. And I just face so many Fangs, they'll just keep going aggro time again. They kind of remind me like Mortis. They just keep going in, and eventually they'll just get some crazy team wipe because of the super potential. You don't really need to aim that super anywhere. You could just keep bouncing like crazy, and then eventually get this broken Hypercharge where you're able to go through walls and get another team wipe. I don't know, there's just so many good things about Fang. He's actually not the completely most broken brawler in competitive, because of course people learn how to stay away from each other, but this is just mainly Power League and also on ladder. He's just running wild on the meta, so incredibly strong, and there's only a few direct counters to him at the top of the meta, like Charlie for example. For me, he's just absolutely insane. I'm kind of sick of this brawler now, and I just hope to God he gets nerfed and I never have to see him again. Okay, so now jumping into the best brawler in the game right now. I think there's zero debates about this one. It has to be Maisie. So Maisie is just absolutely insane right now. The Hypercharge chaining is off the charts. It's just Maisie everywhere on ladder, on Power League. No matter the mode, no matter the situation, she's always going to pop off. So the main reason why she's so good is because she only takes 3 hits to get her super, which is just insane. So it will take about 8 hits to get her Hypercharge overall, which is nothing, especially when some of those super hits count towards her Hypercharge, which, you know, you get your first one. If you hit a couple of people within that super, you also slow them down with a Tremor's star power, and then you get a couple of more shots onto them, you get another super, you get a Hypercharge, you get a team wipe. It's just how it is with Maisie, especially with 4 dashes as well. You're able to combine and get team wipes galore. I kind of, again, I'm sick of this, seeing this brawler everywhere. It's just constant, non-stop, and especially if you're a tanky brawler, there's nothing you can do into Maisie because you're just going to feed her Hypercharge even more. So for me, hopefully she'll get a nerf to her supercharge rate, because it's just off the charts at the moment, and then it might be pretty nice, because Maisie used to be a high skill cap brawler. You know, her meta attack is hard to hit, but you just need to start that first super cycle, and then it's just inevitable. The team wipes will just start rolling. So for me, she's by far the best brawler in the game. Definitely maxed her out before her eventual nerf. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know whether I missed out on any brawlers on the top 10, but I think this is pretty bulletproof so far. So yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.